morning.
Buenos días. Okay, so we have the very relevant task of giving a brief summary of what happened yesterday, what conversations were shared, and of course, which ideas we came through. So I will start by giving a brief summary of impressions and ideas of what happened yesterday, and then Olu would follow me with some key points to be remembered, okay? Here we go. Day one set the tone for contextualization of diverse aspects for our main topic, safeguarding of artistic freedom and delving into the complexities and challenges the world is currently facing. With 85 countries represented in the room, the invitation was then to determine a course of action to foresee culture as a driver for development and democracy. Artistic freedom in the age of complexity was a conversation that opened the floor with the following questions. Why is artistic freedom important? What new threats are arising? But moreover, what actions are government and individuals taking into preventing these threats? Artistic freedom remains to be a complex term, and this complexity leads to fragmentation. Some challenges such as multiple definitions, the lack of unity at the civil society, the multiplicity of platforms and pressure points. What solutions and pathways may emerge? By ensuring a balance in funding opportunities to a diverse array of communities, such as indigenous artists, migrants, or others, it is urgent to recognize every person within our communities. The panel, Many Dimensions of Complexity, of course started with a more complex question. How do we navigate artistic freedom when we are still debating who an artist is? Las Tesis is a feminist collective that learned how networks are power social drivers. They experienced how the expansion of their message became global. At the same time, the collective's network consolidated a methodology and a way of practicing activism. We listened to a powerful intervention from the Sami population, a cross-border community that embeds art in their lives by creating a frame for Sami art. An act of resistance might be also an act to save creativity. The experiences of Afghanistan's cultural genocide struck us as a nation is being silenced. A call for solidarity was then made, a unite voice for the restoration of music for the Afghan people. Technology also entered the panel as a way of decentralizing the conversations. As dominant narratives are challenged from all sides, suppression becomes much more difficult. Still, cultural platforms are gatekeepers giving legitimacy to art. So, how do we make these platforms more inclusive? World Café. In the World Café, we discussed 8 various scenarios about where our society might find itself in 2050, tackling different aspects of artistic freedom. The 8 provocateurs that put forward these scenarios were asked to invent a utopian or dystopian situation, and table hosts facilitated the discussion on how we can either get to that situation or avoid it. Interestingly, most scenarios appeared to be dystopian, and many groups concluded that the world is already facing them. Among the key solutions that were discussed were regulating technologies, collaborating with other sectors, innovating methods of collecting data, enhancing diversity and inclusion, and approaching culture as a right rather than a domain. The afternoon sessions addressed in different groups a variety of aspects regarding artistic freedom. A broad range of these rights were discussed in relationship to cultural threats and barriers, depending on economic, social, and political aspects. Tools and policy frameworks emerged, but also the idea of awareness stood up as an important matter. The general understanding of the concept of artistic freedom needs to be clarified, not only for artists, but also for other critical agents such as media, government, civic society, including the right to participate in cultural life for us, audiences. We discussed the issues in the Nordic region, various aspects of the power concept, and its relationship with artistic freedom. There is a need to have a constructive and open debate about it, and the open space was a forum for sharing burning ideas and challenges emerging from day one. There was a talk at length about digitalization and the effects on communities and individuals, about distribution of power, and the urgency to give voices to oppressed communities, among some other relevant topics. Olu?
Thank you very much. And we're quite conscious that everyone was given the structure of the summit. Everyone would have sat in on the earlier interventions in the morning, and then we all went away to different workshops and parallel sessions in the afternoon. So what I will just very quickly try to do is give you a summary of some of the key points that came out of all of the sessions, so we all get a flavor of the kind of conversations that were had. One of the key points that came out is about definition and how we define artistic freedoms, especially the reminder of the comprehensive approach that has been taken by UNESCO already. And we don't necessarily always need to reinvent that wheel in our understanding of artistic freedoms. The relevance of the work that we do and the value of the arts and artistic freedom are especially high in these times of multiple crises that we are currently facing and living through. And we were reminded that the arts doesn't only challenge and support, but it also brings hope and comfort. In the words of Dear Khan, the arts create beauty in times of darkness. And as Shahidul Alam reminded us, the role of the artist is to disturb your sleep. You know, remind everybody of the things that they might not always want to be reminded about, which leads on to the complexity of the issues that we are facing. Artistic freedom is currently challenged in all parts of the world, but the issues, the challenges, the definitions, the approaches are all very, very diverse. And various violations of freedom of artistic expression come in these many forms, and we need to understand and acknowledge that complexity. Fragmentation came up quite a bit all day as well, and that fragmentation manifests itself in various ways. There's fragmentation of the definition of artistic freedom, as I've previously mentioned. There's a lack of unity and consolidation of civil society, especially across borders. There's fragmentation of information in the digital age, and I'll come on to the increasingly complex role of technology as a challenge. And then there's the multiplicity of cultural platforms and the various pressure points that brings about for us all. Then there's the relationship with democracy. We heard in various ways again throughout yesterday how artistic freedom is key for building open and democratic societies. And when they come for the artists and our artistic freedoms first, other things tend to follow very, very quickly, or it masks other things that are coming. So when democracy shrinks, artistic freedom is under pressure. When artistic freedom is under pressure, democracy is shrinking at the same time as well. We all have shared responsibility, one of the key points that we need to understand. There's not just the state, there's not just civil society, there's each and every one of us in this room as well who has responsibility in ensuring artistic freedom. And then we need to understand the various tools that we have to overcome the barriers that we have identified, which includes legislative and regulatory frameworks. It includes integration of culture in the concept of sustainable development, coalition and collaboration, very, very key, how we document and how we equip ourselves to be effective activists came up quite a lot as well. Awareness is key in all this. Awareness, again, at all levels, government level, civil society level, society at large, which is each and every one of us. Then the multiple impacts of technology. One of the important subtext of practically every conversation yesterday was the impact of technology. And I think we are all now very much awake to the recognition of AI as a real threat, but also as a real opportunity as well. So it's a threat in how it can be used as a tool for spreading misinformation, and as we chillingly heard from one of the speakers yesterday, how AI can actually be a tool for censorship, which also means it can be an opportunity against all these things as well. So we need to recognize that it's not just a problem for us, is also an opportunity for us as well. And in the various scripts for the next edition of Blade Runner that we went through during the World's Cafe yesterday, even when talking about the dystopian utilizations of technology, there was also a lot of recognition of how we can utilize it to create more of a utopia as well. Then the interrelationship between the global, the national, and the local, and how local level interventions are increasingly important. All politics is local, but then all art is local as well. And the challenges to artistic freedom tends to be manifested locally, and that means the opportunities that we have for challenging those barriers to artistic freedom can be made more powerful at local levels as well. And then we utilize international debates for shaking national discourses and for applying pressure on various countries and nation states. So in conclusion, today we are moving on from discussing the complexities to talking about rights and responsibilities. And I think it's really important for us to take some key things from yesterday into our discussions today and into how we're going to be framing the conversations. The key things that we need to take are that yes, there's fragmentation in understanding, in infrastructure, but beyond this, there needs to be solidarity. While we need to fight for our rights and utilize our creativity to assert and protect those rights and the rights of others, we also need to respect differences in understanding and context, and moreover, and most importantly, to bridge this conversation to how we started yesterday, is to understand that we have agency. Whether we want to adopt the suggestion made by Shaidul that we be cultural ambassadors or advocates or supporters, we need to be all this and more, and we all can and should make a difference. Have a great conversation today. Thank you.